What if the moon suddenly disappeared? This question comes from pretty much everyone who has ever looked up and thought, "That's a big rock. What if it just wasn't there?" Let's imagine that at 2:03 a.m. on a perfectly normal Tuesday, the moon just vanishes. No explosion, no warning. One moment it's hanging peacefully over the horizon, and the next, poof, it's gone. Maybe it was vaporized by aliens, or maybe it slipped into another dimension because of a clerical error in universal accounting. Doesn't matter. The point is, no moon. At first, Earth would keep spinning along like nothing happened. The moon is far away, 384,400 kilometers on average, so it doesn't have any direct contact with us. No air rushing in to fill a vacuum, no massive gravitational slurp. It would just disappear, and unless you were looking up at the sky at that very moment, you probably wouldn't even notice. But within hours, the consequences would start quietly arriving, like passive-aggressive texts from the universe. First up, the tides. The moon is responsible for most of the tidal activity on Earth. Without it, oceans would become far less dramatic. That doesn't mean they'd go flat like spilled soup. The sun also affects tides, just to a lesser extent, about 30% of the moon's effect. So, instead of 2 strong tides a day, we'd get 2 very weak ones. Coastal communities might breathe a sigh of relief until they realize how many things depended on those tides. Entire ecosystems rely on the push and pull of the ocean. Crabs, clams, sea turtles, and fish time their feeding, mating, and migration patterns with the tides. Remove that rhythm, and everything gets confused. It's like turning off the background music at a party. Everyone stands around awkwardly, not sure when to move. Then there's the Earth's tilt. You might think Earth spins around its axis like a top. And you'd be right, but the moon is the hand keeping the top from wobbling. Without it, Earth's tilt would eventually go haywire. Not immediately. It would take thousands to millions of years. But over time, our 23.5-degree tilt could start swinging wildly between 0 degrees and 85 degrees. That might not sound terrifying until you realize that the tilt is responsible for seasons. No tilt, no seasons. Or worse, extreme tilt, and suddenly your hometown becomes a baking desert in July and an Arctic tundra in December. Global climate stability, gone. Fashion seasons, gone. White Christmas in the Sahara, possible. And then there's the night sky. The moon is the second brightest object in the sky after the sun. Without it, nights would be significantly darker. This would be great for stargazers, terrible for anyone who ever relied on moonlight for anything, like nocturnal animals or poets or werewolves. Oh, and speaking of animals, biological rhythms would spiral into chaos. Many animals evolved with the moon's cycle. Frogs croak, fish spawn, birds migrate based on lunar phases. Remove the moon, and you essentially turn off an ancient celestial clock that's been quietly coordinating life for hundreds of millions of years. Humans, too, would feel it, maybe not in obvious ways, but in subtle ones. Studies show correlations, though not causations, between full moons and human sleep patterns, moods, and even crime rates. Without the moon, maybe we'd sleep better, or maybe we'd just get new myths, like the disappearance night, where people gather annually to stare at the blank sky and wonder what's missing. But let's not forget the biggest change of all: no more lunar calendars. Many cultures, Islamic, Hebrew, Chinese, and many ancient ones, based timekeeping on the moon. Removing it would be like erasing the original global calendar and asking everyone to just wing it. What happens to months? The word month literally comes from moon. Do we start calling them suns? Do we just go metric and invent a 10-day week? Somewhere, a timekeeper would have a nervous breakdown. And if you're wondering what this means for space exploration, the answer is a lot. The moon is like Earth's cosmic front porch. It's the perfect place to test equipment, practice long-term missions, and mine valuable resources. Without it, Launching deep space missions becomes harder and more expensive. There's no nearby trial zone. Just Earth and then Mars, with nothing in between but cold emptiness and a few sarcastic asteroids. Oh, and tides don't just affect oceans, they affect the Earth's crust. Without the moon tugging at our planet, those subtle movements decrease. That might sound like a good thing, but it could actually destabilize tectonic patterns in ways we don't fully understand. Imagine fewer tiny tremors, but more unpredictable big ones. So, would humanity survive? Sure, the moon isn't holding Earth together like cosmic duct tape, but the long-term effects would be profound, weird, and occasionally poetic. In the end, we'd adapt. We always do. We'd change our calendars, retune our instruments, and rewrite our myths. Children would grow up looking at a blank sky, and books would have to explain what a moonlight walk used to mean. But something would be missing, not just in the sky, but in us. The moon has always been there, not just a lump of rock, but a mirror for dreams, a silent partner to Earth, and a beacon for every lonely night. So, if the moon disappeared, we might go on living just fine. But we'd always wonder, in the back of our minds, if the night ever truly ended without that familiar face watching us from above,